welcome back to They Did What? Your source for the internet's craziest, most entertaining stories where I go over them, analyze them, and most certainly make fun of them. Today, going to go over a story titled, My Wife Cheated on Me While She Was Abroad with Kids, and I Was Battling Cancer in Our Home Country. And guys, this story is about a guy who's married to his wife for like 10 years. They have 2 little kids. And in 2022, they had to leave the country because the war came to their country. I'm pretty sure that he's from Ukraine. And the wife and kids were able to flee, but he had to stay behind. And you're going to see what he thought was a great marriage with her, started to go to hell in a handbasket once they separated. And to make matters worse, him being apart from his family and never knowing when his number may be up, given the country was at war, he also got cancer. And through all this, he's trying to be a good husband and good father to them. And she starts her things going on behind the scene. You're going to see in the story how he could just tell she was becoming more distant, less affectionate, less loving in terms of her conversations with him. And it just gets worse and worse. But you're also going to see how, understandably, he was getting worn down. And he started reversing the roles. He stopped acting like the super strong one in the relationship. Stopped being that rock that no matter what happens, was always strong. He started always questioning the relationship and things like that. Where are we? Where's the things are going? And essentially acting like a woman and clearly turning her off. And so while I don't mean to be harsh, I have to point that out. Because women always want their guy to be strong no matter what. And no matter what is going on. And it's highly unfair. A bunch of BS, but it is what it is. Because they sure as hell don't want to be the leaders in their relationship, except the masculine ones. And when the guy starts acting weak in their eyes, that's when they got to start acting strong, and it turns them off. But also you're going to see the country's at war. She doesn't know if her husband's coming back, so she starts to obviously find a replacement. And it's very unfortunate and really shows you an ugly side of human nature here. So a lot of things to learn from this, and also, no doubt, paying attention to red flags and people's actions, not their words. So he starts off saying, I guess it's my turn to share a heartbreaking story about what happened to me recently. Please apologize for any grammar issues. I'm not a native speaker by any means. However, I will try my best. Part 1, the marriage. He says, we were a great family with 2 lovely kids for 10 wonderful years. As any marriage on the planet, we had our ups and downs. We went through thick and thin with issues of lack of money, no vacations for a long time. We worked a lot, but we still loved and valued each other, and were good friends to each other. Okay, sounds like a good situation. This is how these things usually start off, and then they go to hell in a handbasket, unfortunately. We had plans, we had dreams, we wanted to get old together. We are now having great, well-paying jobs, and we can have everything we want. We can go everywhere we want. All those bad times and lack of something is far behind. I love my beautiful wife so much. I appreciate every moment we spent together, any memory, any kiss, any hug, her smile, the way she looked at me. I've been thankful to God for giving me such a great person by my side. I believe she loved me too until something has broken. So you can see here, this guy, and I know his story because I read it already, is a good guy. But he puts way too much stock in his wife. And I guarantee you, he is way more into the marriage relationship than she is, which is never the place to be. It's unfortunate, but that is the reality, as all of you guys have become well aware of if you listen to these stories quite regularly. Our kids are the best that everything ever happened to our family. I love them more than anything in the world. My wife loves them more than anything as they know it. And they feel like they had the best parents in the whole universe. Now to the story, he says. Part 2 of the story. Back in February of 2022, the full-scale war started in our country. We were scared, we were stressed, our city was under constant missile attacks, and we took a quick decision to move into the western part of the country for our safety. So I'm almost positive, 99.999%, that they're from Ukraine. A few weeks later, the situation started to escalate, and my wife's good friend, a female, told us that there is an apartment waiting for them in Europe, so they can stay there and wait until this whole thing is over. We didn't have much time to think under such extreme circumstances. So I bought a ticket for a bus, put my wife, kids, and mother-in-law there, and they fled to Europe. Unfortunately, men in our country are not allowed to cross the borders due to martial law, so I had to stay in my home country. So, the family separated. And his wife, the mother-in-law, the kids, and that's got aside from the fact that his country's being attacked and the hell he's going through, that he could die at any minute, he doesn't see his family, but at least for him, okay, they're safe. You know, that gives him peace of mind. But watch what happens when this wonderful, amazing woman, who's this wonderful, amazing marriage with, who they're going to spend years together and grow old together, what happens when they grow apart? And there's the, obviously, possibility that he may not come back. A month later, I returned back to my city, where my parents stay. They refused to leave the house and told us to save the kids no matter what, and back in those hot days. I felt tired all the time. I felt dizzy, exhausted. I visited doctors many times, and they all say that this is war. Everybody's tired. Everybody's exhausted. You work so much. Your family is so far away, so you miss them and feel stressed out. Here, take these pills, try to relax, and live your life. Yeah, easier said than done, Doc. They were right to some extent until that scary day in August 2022, when I was diagnosed with thyroid cancer. Talk about when it rains it pours. Your country's at war. Your family's separated from you. I mean, they're safe, but still they're separated. You know something's up, and then you get diagnosed with fucking cancer. Thanks, universe. It was found by accident during another visit to another doctor. I was devastated. I was depressed. Everything stopped. I reached the bottom, the darkness, the emptiness. I cried a lot, cried a few times in my life. My wife cried with me. Everybody was shocked and confused. Anyway, thanks to my wife and the support of my family circle, I found some inner strength and started to prepare for the surgery. That's all you can do. Everybody can have a moment where they feel like all is lost and break down, fair enough. But then you got to pick yourself up and keep moving, you know, and this is what he did. Thyroid cancer, in my particular case, required the removal of all sections of the thyroid gland. The treatment in my case was successful, but I had to change my lifestyle to the core. Less stress, more rest, and healthy stuff. Less stress, huh? When your country's at war, when your family's away from you, when you have the uncertainty, which honestly is worse than anything. And of course, what I know is going to happen. The first few months after the surgery in late August 2022 were pretty tough. First, it was a wound on my neck that hurt like hell, and I barely could eat or swallow. Second was my depression that had been waiting for me around the corner. The enormous hormone levels and overall loneliness made me feel depressed and vulnerable. I started to lose ground. I've been missing my wife and my kids even more. You may ask, did they have a possibility to visit you? Yes, they did. And my wife came to see me in September 2022 for a few weeks to take care of me. Once she left, I felt completely broken. This is my life now. Okay, I get it, man, but you gotta take it one day at a time. That's all you can do when things are that bad. The war, the distance between us, how long I should take those punches. Eventually, I put my shit together and went to therapy. It was tough in the beginning, but now I started to return back to my previous life. Still, there's so much things to work on, but I smile again and even see a future with my beautiful family. Okay. All right, man, you're going to be all right. Glad you took action, got up, saw a therapist. That's helping. Good. Remember, as much as you're going through hell, your family doesn't have you either. And you need to be strong for your family. You can be dying inside, but they got to know that nothing shakes Dad. Dad is the rock, and we can all feel safe and know that Dad always has our back. And of course, he does, but that's unfortunate. But you all know darn well what can happen when a man gets too vulnerable, shows his feminine side, his cries and all that stuff in front of his woman. It turns him off. It's unfortunate. It's terrible. But if you make your girlfriend or your wife your therapist, it's only a matter of time before she's going to become severely turned off. They want you to be the rock, the solid, unmovable object, no matter what comes your way. And it's unfair. It's bullshit. And it's especially unfair and bullshit when you have so many gals tell guys, oh, it's okay, pour out your feelings, cry, be vulnerable, tell me your fears, tell me your weaknesses. No, don't ever do that. Because they say that because that's what they think is what they want, and that's what they're told they should say. But when a guy does that, what happens? It's unfortunate. It's like, you ever saw the movie Saving Private Ryan? The part in the movie about halfway when Tom Hanks and his squad, whatever they were called, were out there, and some shit went down, and Tom Hanks, who was the captain, walked away, made sure his troops weren't anywhere around to see him, and he started bawling his eyes out for like 15 seconds, if you guys remember that scene. And then He calmed down, turned around, walked back there, and he was the all-knowing, strong leader that he was always. They could not see him being shaken for a second, otherwise it'd break down. It's the same thing with the girlfriend and the family and all that. It's, again, unfortunate, but that it is what it is. And that scene is really dead on, if you guys know what I'm talking about here. Anyway, but in December 2022, it all started to seem to fall apart. My family currently lives in some sort of social apartment with other refugees from other countries, mostly women and children. She knows most of them very well because all of them came from her home city, and most of them are connected with the same people who invited my wife. So fast forward, when the winter came, my wife started to become distant and cold. Uh-oh. I always pay attention to her actions. She became close with most of the young women at that place, and they started partying here and there. Bars, cafes, and restaurants. So meanwhile, you're living day to day, and she's out there all of a sudden with these young gals partying and going on there. Gee, what could go wrong? Something tells me your wife is starting to think that he may not be coming back, so she's starting to let loose. This is her way of dealing with this, or maybe looking for a replacement in case you don't come back. And remember, this guy's in a war-torn country, and he had cancer and all that. You'd think she'd be handling this thing a lot differently. I guarantee if she was over there and had cancer, he'd be not out partying and drinking and all that. I'm not giving her an excuse, but I'm telling you this is probably what she's thinking. This is her way of dealing with it, which ain't cool. I know that she doesn't get along very well with her mother. They often have fights about every tiny little thing. Her mother also doesn't like her partying. Sometimes she was very abusive and controlling, saying that she must stay at home with the kids, even though she was right to some extent. I didn't want to keep my wife inside the cage, and I've always tried to protect her against her mom. Well, her mom's obviously old school and old-fashioned, and probably her mom is a hard ass, but she's right. She's a married woman with children. She shouldn't be out with the young single gals partying and drinking and all that. So she's right. My wife is a very emotional person, and I thought that in her mental state is related to the atmosphere in their house, and that's why she needed to hang out sometimes. Very emotional person. Well, she's a woman, so naturally she's emotional. But maybe this is to a whole new degree, and therefore, because she's so emotional, this is why she needs a strong rock of a husband. You see my point? And the emotions are getting the best of her, and she's doing some dumbass shit. In the meantime, I had a feeling that my wife stopped caring about me anymore. She asked how I feel, less and less. She rarely told me back that she loves me. When I lost my patience, I started to ask pretty direct questions like, is everything okay between us? Do you still care for me? Do you miss me? Dude, I get where you're coming from, but these are the types of questions that women ask men, not the other way around. I understand where he's coming from, and he's hurting and going through hell, but this is showing him having uncertainty, and that will turn women off. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is. He needs at this point to start laying down the law with her. But remember, actions, not words. Her actions of what she's doing, what she's not doing, has communicated everything here. The answers were always positive. Of course I miss you. I care for you. Everything is fine. I'm just tired. At the same time, she told me that I'd become an alarmist, that she's too tired and can't give me and her mother what we want from her. But all I've been asking is her attention, as she's had many excuses why she can't provide it. I was scared. This is not my wife anymore. I felt guilty all the time because I've become an alarmist and contribute to overall pressure that my wife is experiencing, so I stepped down. Well, it is true that, like I said, this goes back to the husband being the strong rock in the mountain and all that. If he's like putting pressure on her to be the rock and mountain for him, that's a problem, because the women don't want to be the strong ones. They don't want to be the leaders. They want the husband, the man, to be the man. I'm not justifying her actions. I'm just saying what's probably going on here. Again, I don't know everything. I'm just piecing together what I see based on doing this a while. Part 3, the affair. A few months later, my oncologist told me that I have a chance to make documents which may allow me to cross the border. This is it, my exact thoughts. I can finally visit my family. I can kiss my wife. I can hug my kids. I can take them to the seacoast. I can do everything. The closer to my documents' readiness, the more distant my wife became. Oh, how interesting. You'd think she'd be happy to see her husband after all this. No matter what I asked, it was always fine, and I have nothing to worry about. And finally, in May of 2023, I am here. My kids are crying and smiling. They are happy as well as my wife, but something is not there. She didn't even cook any dinner, just a bunch of dirty dishes and mess around the house. Yeah, it sounds like she's really enthusiastic about you coming to town after not seeing you for like a year and a half, and you having cancer and could have gone at any moment because of the war. Thanks, wife. Our first night and no sex. Like, WTF. You didn't see me for almost a year. Those 3 weeks in September 2022 doesn't count, and you don't want any intimacy. I tried to initiate something, but she felt tired and wanted to sleep. I can tell you right now, after all what he's been through, if this was me and I didn't get any for a year, and I come see her and I got no freaking dinner, and I get no sex, there's going to be a problem. No kissing, no holding hands, no hugs. I sat with her and started a conversation if everything is fine between you and me. And guess what? She says, everything is fine, honey. I just waited for so long that I'm not so sex addicted anymore, but it's not about you. We are good. I'm just tired and also need my space. I can picture her Ukrainian nose just growing and growing and growing and growing and growing as she's saying all that. Oh yeah? Well, how about your affair partner, sweetheart? My suspicion started to grow exponentially. Yes, we had a tough time in our marriage when we were so tired that we had sex a few times in a month, but for fuck's sake, the year and a space. A few days later, I noticed some strangers messaging on her phone, but I didn't see the context as the screen was locked. She told me that this is one of her new bosses. Oh, is that what she calls her lover, huh? The boss. They call him Daddy over here. I was a bit worried, and the next day I found out that this new boss liked her photos on social media. Of course. This is when you start laying down the law, husband. I immediately started another conversation about her feelings and who is that guy, and she told me that she doesn't know what she feels for me and that guy's just a friend. Hold on here. You don't know what you feel anymore? Really? Now, again, I'm not surprised by her actions. And again, he keeps bringing up the thing about, her feelings for him and all that. I understand, like I said, where he's coming from, but in many circumstances, he's acting like the woman and is turning her the fuck off. War-torn, cancer, I get it. And she should have been there for him. She should have been she couldn't be by his side, but calling him constantly there for him. But her actions don't show that she loves him. This is why a guy always has to be the rock and the strong one. But I think even if he was acting strong all the time, even though understandably he was not, she'd still be pulling this bullshit. I think that she was looking for a replacement, thinking he's not coming back. I was ruined, but tried to stay calm. I understand we've been separated by distance for some time, and I agree it was hard for the both of us. So I decided to give her some of the time and space, even though I wasn't a fan of that decision. If she's telling you she doesn't know how she feels about you anymore, and she's talking to some other dude, I'd be doing a lot more than that, man. You need to lay down the fucking law with her. She needs the alpha back. So I've been nervous all the time, but as I mentioned, I decided to take the family to the seacoast and try to relax. We spent a great week together. We talked so much, we drank so much, we had sex, we kissed, everything was fine. And finally, the regular night with the girls. I want to go to sleep, but I can't. I opened the POS page, and here we are. He's checked in at the same place where my wife is, and the girls were partying. I approached her laptop. We don't have secrets, so I had a Touch ID in there. Opened a few messages and found nudes, sexting, texting, I love yous, I miss yous, with another guy from that so-called boss company. There you go. These idiots always leave evidence. I felt down, my heart was broken. I ran away from that home and met her in that night. She saw my eyes and she understood that I know. I think it's time to stop being so nice, my friend. I think it's time to start really laying down the law. In fact, I think it's time to kick her ass to the curb. Now, they're not in their home country. He probably can only be there for a certain period of time, but this ain't going to work. Or at the very least, you're going to take care of our kids. But the second this war is over, the war between us begins. It was hard. I was hurt. Yeah, she confessed, but only after I caught her. She thought she'd delete everything. I spent a few more weeks with my kids and her. I was so shocked that I tried to put all the blame on me. I was looking for some reasonable explanations. When guys do that, they want to put the blame on them because they don't want to accept that their wife or girlfriend really is a piece of crap. It's easier to say, I must have done something wrong because she was so wonderful before. No, she's an asshole. Either this is who she really is or she changed, And I really got to wonder if her survival instinct jumped in to take care of herself and the kids in the event that he didn't come back. I don't know. We slept in one bed. We had SCX all that time, and I tried to get her back. Smack! She's cheating on you, and you're trying to win her back. This is why she has such a low opinion of you, aside from her being an a-hole. But she was stone cold. Shocker. She's a cheater, and you're trying to win her back. Their affair was a few months long, so I was getting all the documents. She started a new life behind my back. And that is why she was acting so cold and uninterested when you were getting the documents to come see her. This would be a lot easier if they didn't have any kids, but they have kids, and he doesn't want his kids to suffer. The kids are under 10 years old. After I came back to my home country, I started to analyze the situation. I tried to have a conversation with her, but she just asked for more time to figure it out. No, you're going to figure it out in 3 seconds. Because by the time we get to 3, if you haven't figured it out, I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. What's going to happen is we're done. I suggested to go to marriage counseling twice, but she ignored that like I never said it. It was her choice. It was her decision to ruin everything. She doesn't want to work things out, dude. I lost her forever. I lost myself. She betrayed me while I was battling cancer and needed her the most. I'm devastated. I'm ruined. I feel unworthy, miserable human being. This guy, the war-torn country, surviving day to day, the cancer, and now this shit. That which does not kill you makes you stronger, brother. She tried to put a blame on me for her adultery, but instead I confronted her and told her to shut up. Thank the Lord, you're finally acting like a man. Why on earth would you never talk to me about your feelings? I never saw that coming. I've been thinking that we are finally happy and can relax after chasing our dreams for so many years. If she ever told me she was unhappy, I would have fixed everything, or at least tried to fix it, and she was dead silent. Because she's dead inside. She doesn't care. She's numb. I believe things like this never happens within one day. I just don't get why she never openly communicated her feelings and needs to me. Because she doesn't want to fix anything. That's why. Last summer I got the paper letter from her where she expressed how she loved me and missed me, and she counts the days when we can be together. Don't pay attention to her words, pay attention to her actions. She's doing that to placate you. I've been going through her text messages every night, and I swear I can't believe it was all her lies. I'm trying hard to start a healing process now, but seeing her every time I see these disgusting texts between her and him. These photos that she never sent to me. These love words that she told him and me every single day of her affair. I can't believe how someone who promised me to go through all this nightmare together 6 months ago can betray you so hard. She won't even try to talk about reasons of why and how it happened. Because she doesn't care. What the reality is, I think she was finding his replacement with a shot. She thought he was going to come back or not, or he was turning her off. I don't know. The one ally here probably can be is her mother, because her mother doesn't approve of her behavior. Her mother's old school. But the number one priority now, man, are those kids. It's dead between you and her. She is not remorseful. Shocker. I only talk to my brilliant kids and thinking about filing a divorce soon. I'm just so afraid that they may think that their daddy betrayed them and ruined our family. No. She betrayed, she ruined. And you have to make that abundantly clear. Don't do this, I'm going to wait till they're 18 to tell them, or she'll control the narrative. I'm not looking for any advice. I don't know why I'm here. I'm completely lost and just cried my eyes out. Her betrayal hurts us like hell, as well as any thoughts about my cancer, which may return if I surrender. Thanks for reading this to the very end. I'm trying to stay strong for myself and my kids and not let the cancer beat me again. Well, bro, you got one choice. You got two choices. Either you can fight all this, or you can let it destroy you. I highly recommend you fight all this. You need to end it with her, but given the circumstances where they're in a safe haven in another country, and obviously you're back in, it has to be Ukraine. That's a tough situation, but you cannot continue with her anymore. The problem is, I don't want her to suddenly get custody of the kids, and you never see them again, or crazy shit like that. So I'll do whatever you have to do to survive, but between you and her, it's over. And you start acting like a man laying down the law. Because I guarantee you, you start acting like a man laying down the law, even if you don't intend to stay with her, she'll start to respect that. You know, because obviously she respects strength, not weakness. And you have been, understandably, I get what you're going through, you were acting weak in her eyes, you know. And again, they expect the guy to always be strong no matter what. It's unfair and horseshit, but it is what it is. But do what you can to get through this, and you're going to be okay. But all this stress is unfortunately going to have a negative impact on potentially the cancer coming back. I mean, I'm not a fucking doctor, but that's what they said. Do whatever you gotta do to survive this shit and get custody of those kids and end it. You can't be with her. And I think this is really who she is. What you thought who she was just fine as long as it seemed like everything was going okay. But now that this is going on, you see who she is. But you're still relatively young and you can turn your life around, and I wish you the best. But guys, this is a perfect example of how a guy can be great to his woman, his family and all that, and look what happens, you know? And just like that, toss you aside like a piece of garbage when times are uncertain and they may think that they need to find a replacement, just like that. But anyhow, that'll be an interesting one to cover. Alright guys, that's it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. And also guys, you come across a good story like to share, email me. strongsuccessfulmale@gmail.com. Just give me some time to get to it and I definitely will. And make sure you like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. I'll catch you next time.